Each morning, you stand at a quiet crossroads. You can either let the rush of life sweep you away, or you can pause and choose your own direction. The question is, which one will you choose? Most people wake up and jump straight into the day, checking their phones, chasing after to-do lists, letting stress take the wheel. But what if instead, with just a few intentional words, not fluffy affirmations, but real grounded phrases, you could completely shift the way your day unfolds? The Buddha once said, "What you think you become, what you feel you attract, what you imagine you create." Those aren't just poetic sayings. They're a blueprint for how to live with intention. And if every morning you choose to speak words rooted in mindfulness, you're planting seeds of deep transformation into your life. So, the question becomes, what are the words that can shape not just your day, but your life? Let's begin with the first one. I welcome the unknown as my teacher. Have you noticed that the things we worry about most in life are often the things that haven't even happened yet? It's the unknown, that vague, shadowy future, that creates more anxiety than the present moment ever does. We fear not knowing what's coming. We resist change. We grow uneasy when we can't predict or control. So we cling to our routines, our plans, our assumptions just to feel safe. But here's the thing. Every time your life truly changed, it wasn't because of what you already knew. It was because of what you didn't expect. An unexpected opportunity. A person who walked into your life unannounced. A challenge that at first felt like a setback, but later turned out to be the opening of a brand new path. The unknown isn't your enemy. It's your greatest teacher. The Buddha taught anicca impermanence, that everything changes, nothing remains fixed forever. And while impermanence can seem like a reason for sadness or fear, it can also be seen as an invitation, a reminder that everything can change, even your pain, your situation, or who you think you are. So, what happens when you welcome the unknown instead of resisting it? You begin to live with open eyes. You stop running from the future and start discovering it like new territory. Instead of asking, what if things go wrong? You begin to ask, what if something beautiful is waiting for me? I remember a young monk once asked the Buddha, "Lord, what should I do if I don't know what tomorrow will bring?" The Buddha replied, "Live mindfully today and do not let fear of tomorrow steal your peace now." Life is a fast-moving river. You can never step into the same part of the river twice because the water has moved on, and so have you. Each moment is new unknown. And because of that, each moment carries the power to transform you. Think about it. If a seed knew exactly what kind of tree it would become when it would bloom, how many storms it would face, would it even dare to sprout? Probably not. It sprouts because it doesn't know. Because it moves into the unknown with a quiet, natural trust that something meaningful is waiting to emerge. You're the same. You don't need to have all the answers before you move forward. You just need a willingness to learn, a heart that stays open to the wisdom of uncertainty. Think about the hardest times in your life. Weren't they also the moments when you grew the most? When your plans fell apart? When the things you believed were stable suddenly weren't? You had to step back, look inward, and ask, who am I when everything around me changes? That right there is where wisdom begins. Because we don't grow when everything goes according to plan. We grow when life throws us into the unknown, and we choose to stay, to listen, and to evolve. Even the Buddha didn't find enlightenment inside a comfortable temple or surrounded by books. He went into the forest. He sat under the Bodhi tree. He faced every uncertainty inside him: temptation, fear, doubt, sorrow. And instead of avoiding them, he chose to sit still, to observe, to learn. And slowly, from that very space of not knowing, came light. Maybe today, you're sitting in your own version of that forest. You don't have a clear answer. You don't know what's next. You feel like you've lost your way. That's not failure. That's a beginning. The beginning of someone learning to trust the process, to believe in their own resilience, to live not by controlling life, but by learning from it. We're taught that if we could just control everything, we'd finally be at peace. But ask yourself honestly, has trying to control everything ever made you truly peaceful? Welcoming the unknown doesn't mean giving up. It means softening into life, letting life teach you the lesson you need, not the one you expected. Some people lose a job and discover a path they never considered. Some lose a relationship and finally learn how to love themselves. Uncertainty sometimes comes as a gentle invitation from the universe whispering, you're ready to meet a deeper version of yourself. So when you begin your day with the words, I welcome the unknown as my teacher, you're reminding yourself you don't have to know everything. You just have to stay open, because whatever comes your way, it's here to teach you something. So, what is the unknown trying to teach you today? Let your heart be the student. Let life be the teacher. Don't rush for an answer. Just listen. And soon you'll realize inside the unknown, there is light. Inside that light, there is you. And inside you, there's already everything you need to learn to grow and to live fully, even if you don't yet know what comes next. 2. I am grateful. There's something curious about life. The more we have, the more we tend to feel we're missing. And the harder we chase happiness, the further it seems to drift away. Caught in that endless race, we often overlook the simplest things, the ones that have quietly been there all along holding us up. Like this breath, the sunlight slipping through your window, the sound of birds greeting the morning, a warm cup of tea in your hand. These aren't grand moments, but if you've ever lived through loss, loneliness, or illness, you'll know it's the ordinary things that become the most sacred. And gratitude. It doesn't begin when life gives you something big. It begins when you see, really see, what's already here. It begins with a shift in perspective, a slower gaze, a quiet smile. In Buddhist teachings, there's a practice called mudita, the joy we feel when others experience goodness. But before joy for others, we need gratitude for our own lives. Because without gratitude, no matter how much you have, you'll always feel something is missing. But with it, even a humble meal can make you feel like the richest person in the world. I remember a story from a Buddhist teaching about a beggar who owned nothing but an old robe and an empty bowl. One day, a monk asked him, "Do you know what you have that even the richest person cannot buy. He thought for a while and answered, freedom. The monk smiled and said, and the ability to be grateful, because when gratitude arises, everything around you becomes a gift. Gratitude is how you pause in the middle of life's rush and whisper, I see it now. I feel it now. Even if life isn't perfect, even if sadness lingers, there's still so much quietly holding you. A friend who truly listens. A morning without pain. A commute without traffic. Or simply another day that you get to breathe. But have you noticed? In today's world, gratitude isn't instinctive anymore. We're constantly comparing to our peers, to filtered lives on social media, to impossible expectations. So instead of seeing what we have, we obsess over what we lack. And that sense of lack is the door through which suffering walks in. That's why, each morning, if you can begin with just 3 words, I am grateful, you're already changing the direction of your day. You're retraining your mind to stop searching for happiness in the future and to start finding it in the fullness of now. This isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about remembering so much is fine and we've forgotten to see it. Gratitude isn't a fleeting emotion. It's a spiritual practice. When you're hurting, return to the basics. I still have eyes to see, feet to walk. When you're tired, ask yourself, amidst all, I'm struggling with what is still working. Maybe your heart is still beating. Maybe someone quietly cares about you. Maybe you still have a bed to rest in tonight. We often think that when things get better, we'll automatically feel grateful. But truthfully, it's gratitude that makes things better. It's the light that reveals the goodness we often miss. Do you remember the story of the jewel sewn into a robe? The Buddha once told of a man who spent his life begging on the streets, never knowing that his old friend had long ago sewn a precious gem into the lining of his coat. He wandered hungry and broken, unaware that he'd been carrying treasure all along. Gratitude is just like that. It doesn't come from the outside. It's the jewel already sewn inside you. The only question is, will you pause long enough to reach for it? Try this. Before you start your day, write down 3 things you're grateful for, no matter how small. Maybe it's clean water, a message from your child, or simply, I can still feel life moving through me. Do this long enough, and something magical happens. The complaining mind begins to quiet, and a gentler energy begins to grow within. You become more generous, more patient, more compassionate, not just toward others, but toward yourself. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha said, gratitude and thankfulness, these are the marks of a noble person. Grateful people aren't luckier than the rest. They simply have eyes that are awake enough to see what others miss. And if you're going through a hard time right now, gratitude may be the softest yet most powerful medicine. It won't erase your pain, but it will give you a place to stand again, like an oyster that turns a painful grain of sand into a pearl. Gratitude transforms hardship into something meaningful. A lesson, a deeper layer of strength, a quiet kind of beauty. So when you say I am grateful, you're not denying your struggles, you're just choosing to notice the light. Even in the shadows, you're saying to life, I see you, I understand now, and I'm still willing to keep my heart open. And if you're still searching for something to be grateful for today, Just look around. Maybe it's already right there waiting for you to notice it and smile. 3. I take responsibility. I choose to be accountable for today. There's something we all fall into, especially on the days when life feels unfair or we're simply exhausted. We blame. We blame our jobs. We blame other people. We blame the past, the circumstances, the timing, even fate itself. And before we know it, the whole day passes with us drifting like a passenger in our own life. Powerless, disconnected, lost. But then, sometimes it only takes a single moment, a line in a book, a quiet realization, a lesson whispered by life itself, and suddenly it hits you. No one else is steering this boat but me. You can't always choose the weather, but you can choose how to set your sails. You can't stop the storm, but you can choose how you move through it. And the moment you say, I take responsibility for today, is the moment you return to the captain's seat of your own life. The Buddha once said, by oneself is evil done. By oneself is one defiled. By oneself is evil left undone. By oneself is one purified. Purity and impurity depend on oneself. No one can purify another. No one can walk your spiritual path for you. No one can carry your karma. Only you and you alone can transform your suffering and rise from it. Responsibility isn't a burden, it's power. Because the moment you take responsibility, you reclaim your freedom. It's no longer, I'm this way because they did that. It becomes, I choose how I respond. I decide how I move forward from here. And have you ever noticed? The same people, the same frustrations, the same pain, they keep showing up when we keep showing up with the same mindset. So being responsible isn't about blaming yourself. It's about asking the right questions. In this situation, what part is mine to see more clearly? What lesson is life inviting me to grow through right now? That shift from reaction to reflection is where transformation begins. There's a short story in the Buddhist scriptures. A man once came to the Buddha after being struck by a poisoned arrow. He was in agony and demanded, "Please remove this arrow now." But instead of rushing to help, the Buddha gently asked, "Would you like to know who shot it? From which direction? What kind of bow was used?" The man, growing angry, replied, "Why would I care? I'm in pain." The Buddha smiled and said, "Exactly. Then don't shoot yourself a second time with your own anger, blame, and resentment. That second arrow is our reaction. The first arrow is what life throws at us. The second is what we do to ourselves in response. When you take responsibility, you stop that second arrow. You no longer let anger linger. You stop the past from controlling the present. You stop letting someone else's behavior dictate your peace of mind. You come back to yourself. Each morning, if you could look in the mirror and gently say, "Today, I take responsibility," you wouldn't need to shout it from the rooftops. You wouldn't need to make grand promises. Just one quiet commitment. A promise that if something happens today, you'll pause before reacting. That if a mistake is made, you'll learn instead of hiding. That if someone hurts you, you'll choose healing, not revenge. A responsible person doesn't crumble easily. Like the bamboo, they bend, but they do not break. Even when they fall, they rise again with grace. And something beautiful happens. When you live from this place of quiet ownership, you no longer need anyone to apologize, change, or admit they were wrong in order for you to be free, because you're already free. The Buddha said, "No one saves us but ourselves. We must walk the path alone." It sounds harsh, but it's actually a gift, because if every action creates karma, then every choice has the power to begin again. You don't have to wait for your next life to be reborn. You can be reborn right now, in the way you think, in the way you live, in the way you respond. So if something today feels heavy, if you feel stuck, just pause, take a deep breath, and ask, where can I take responsibility in this? What can I choose differently so I don't keep hurting myself? That question asked again and again becomes the key to a life of true peace. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be honest. You don't have to be strong all at once. You just have to take responsibility for the next small step. And that step may lead you farther than you ever imagined. So, if you're ready, whisper it gently to yourself. Today, I take responsibility, and let this day begin, like a new door, quietly opening by your own hand. 4. I am focused on growth. There's a quiet but profound truth in life. None of us were born as a finished product. We're all drafts in progress stories still unfolding. And life in all its joys, heartbreaks, losses, and triumphs is the teacher patiently sculpting us, day by day, moment by moment. So when you stand in front of the mirror each morning and say, "I am focused on growth," you're not just repeating a positive affirmation. You're making a choice, a direction, a silent vow to yourself that you won't let life pass by on autopilot, that you will grow, not just survive. In Buddhist teachings, there's a word, bhavana. It's often translated as meditation or training the mind, but its deeper meaning is to cultivate, to bring something into being. It's not about becoming someone else. As the Buddha taught, it's about becoming the most awake version of who you already are. And real growth, the kind that sticks, doesn't come from avoiding difficulties. It comes from walking straight through them. Have you ever noticed what a river does when it meets a rock? It doesn't get angry. It doesn't turn back. It doesn't try to smash the rock out of frustration. It simply flows around it, quietly, patiently, and over time, that soft water shapes even the hardest stone. That's what growth looks like. Not always big dramatic changes, but small, steady shifts. Learning to take a deep breath before reacting. Being okay with not being perfect, but not giving up either. Sitting with your emotions, not judging them, just noticing. The Buddha once said, "Just as a sword is sharpened stroke by stroke, so too is the mind refined with perseverance." Growth isn't a destination, it's a way of living. It's the quiet question you ask yourself each night. Did I learn something today? Did I understand myself just a little better? Was I kinder than yesterday? Real growth isn't about never falling. It's about being willing to learn each time you do. Like a sculptor who sees a statue inside an unshaped block of stone, each small chisel stroke slowly reveals the beauty that was always there. You're like that too. Each day lived with awareness. Each honest effort is carving away the noise and revealing the true you underneath. But let's be honest, some days are discouraging. Some days feel like you're moving in circles. You relapse into old habits. You wonder, am I even growing or just standing still? That's when you need to remember growth isn't linear. It's a spiral, sometimes up, sometimes down, sometimes still, sometimes stormy. But it's always movement. Think of the lotus, the sacred flower of Buddhism. It doesn't grow in clean water. It rises from the mud, and still it reaches toward the light. You can't grow without some darkness. You can't be steady without having known the shake. You can't understand others deeply without facing your own struggles first. So when you say, I am focused on growth, you're not promising perfection. You're simply choosing not to give up. You're choosing to keep showing up, even when it's slow, even when it's hard, even when the outcome is uncertain. You're choosing to trust the process because you know each small act today shapes a stronger, wiser, more loving version of you tomorrow. And here's something beautiful that happens when you truly live with a growth mindset. You stop needing to be better than anyone. You start comparing yourself not to others, but to who you were yesterday. You feel joy for someone else's success without feeling like you're losing. You realize everyone blooms in their own time. Some are early daisies, some are late blooming lotuses. As long as you're watering your soul with honesty and effort, your season will come. The Buddha said, "Better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles." Every time you hold your tongue instead of lashing out. Every time you say no to an old habit that no longer serves you. Every time you choose to sit with your sadness instead of running away from it, you are winning. Not against the world, but with yourself. And that, my friend, is sacred. Never underestimate those small victories. They're footprints on the path to awakening. Because in the end, growth isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming more honest, more loving, more authentically you. So if today you whispered to yourself, I am focused on growth, know that you've planted something beautiful. Keep tending to it with patience, humility, and just a little bit of faith in yourself. And one day, when you're not even looking for it, you'll notice I've changed. Not loudly, not overnight, but beautifully, quietly, naturally. 5. I am in control of my attitude. There are many things in life you can't control. The weather, what people say about you, unexpected events that unfold during the day, even the mood of the person sitting across from you. The world out there, much of it, is unpredictable. But there is one thing you can control if you are awake and mindful enough. Your attitude. And when you start your morning with the words, I am in control of my attitude, you're not just reciting a mantra, you're returning to the center of your inner strength. You stop drifting like a leaf tossed by the winds of circumstance. You become the one steering the boat of your mind even as waves rise and fall around you. The Buddha taught, it is not the external conditions that cause suffering. It is how we respond to them. Two people can experience the same rainstorm. One smiles grateful the trees are being nourished. The other complains about their soaked clothes. Same rain, different attitude. One careless comment. To some, it's nothing, they brush it off with a laugh. To others, it lingers for weeks like a thorn in the heart. Same words, different attitude. A challenge arrives. One person sees failure. Another sees a lesson, a stepping stone. The difference isn't what happens. It's the attitude we choose. Think of attitude like a pair of glasses you wear each day. If the lenses are clouded with dust, everything looks distorted. But if you wipe them clean each morning, the world appears clearer, softer, and more beautiful. Attitude is the inner lens through which you see life and shape it in return. In Buddhism, the practice of mastering your mind is called mindfulness. It's the cornerstone of true inner freedom. A mindful person isn't someone who never gets angry or sad or anxious. They are simply someone who knows when these emotions arise and chooses not to be swept away. They pause, they breathe, they observe, and then they respond consciously instead of reacting unconsciously. I remember a Zen story. A stranger once came to a monastery and began yelling insults at an old monk meditating under a tree. The man hurled hateful words, mocking and cursing him, but the monk sat still, unshaken. Finally, the angry man demanded, "Hey, did you not hear what I just said? Why won't you answer me?" The monk opened his eyes, smiled, and said, "If you offer me a gift and I don't accept it, to whom does it belong?" The man replied, "Well, it would still be mine." The monk gently said, "Then, I do not accept your gift of anger." That story is so simple, yet so profound. You can't stop people from bringing garbage to your door, but you can choose not to open it. Taking control of your attitude doesn't mean pretending to be cheerful all the time. It means that no matter what emotions are stirring inside you, still choose to act with awareness. When someone insults you, you can take one mindful breath and respond with calm. When you're having a rough day, you can still be kind to a stranger. When your mind is messy, you can choose not to spread more chaos. You are like a gardener. You can't control the rain or the sun, but you can tend the soil, pull the weeds, and protect the growing seedlings. Your mind is the same. No matter what life throws at you, you can still cultivate a patient, compassionate, resilient attitude. The Buddha once said, "The greatest enemy is a self that is out of control." And on the flip side, the greatest victory is to master yourself. No one lives without challenges, but those who master their attitude, they turn challenges into fuel for growth. So, each morning, ask yourself, what attitude will I choose today? Who can I be a little gentler with? How can I respond in a way that doesn't add more suffering? The attitude you choose each morning becomes the climate of your inner world. And with each day, your mind becomes a garden where the flowers of patience, the trees of understanding, and the light of compassion all bloom together. So, if this morning you've said, "I am in control of my attitude," know that it's more than just a statement. It is a deep act of transformation. You are choosing not to let circumstances rule your being. You are choosing to live, not just react. And you are choosing to grow the kind of freedom no one can take from you. 6. I am capable. There are days when you look in the mirror and all you see is not enough, not smart enough, not strong enough, not good enough to change anything in your life. And then, when you see others succeeding their confidence, their momentum, you start to doubt yourself even more. But let me ask you something. Who was ever born enough? No one begins this life perfectly grounded. Even the Buddha, before becoming enlightened, was once a seeker. He felt tired. He faced uncertainty. And if you truly take that in, you'll understand why every morning just whispering to yourself, "I am capable," isn't just a phrase. It's a way of waking up the strength that's been asleep within you. The Buddha once said, "Everyone carries the seed of awakening." That means the ability to grow, to heal, to live with clarity. It isn't outside of you. It doesn't belong to someone special. It doesn't require a perfect past or a pristine path. It's already inside of you, just waiting for light. Have you ever looked at a seed so tiny, so fragile, sometimes buried in mud and darkness, but with just a little sunlight, a little water, a little patience, that seed becomes a tree, rooted, reaching upward? You're no different. You don't need to feel ready to begin. You just need to believe that you can learn, that you can grow, that you can shift. And that belief, spoken quietly but consistently, becomes the root of inner power. Of course I know. In real life, you'll fall. You'll try something new and fail. You'll trust someone and get hurt. You'll step outside your comfort zone and feel lost. That's when the voice in your head starts whispering, "See, I'm not good at this. I wasn't meant for this. I'll never be like them." And that is exactly when you must pause. Take a deep breath and say again, "I am capable." Not because you've never failed, but because you won't let a single failure define your entire life. There's a verse from the Dhammapada that says, "The wise one, even after stumbling, rises like an elephant in battle." One wound does not make them forget the path. Capability doesn't mean you never waver. It means you rise again every time you fall. Think back. How did you learn to walk? No one forced you to try again. No one pushed you to get up after every fall. But somehow, you did. You stood. You stepped forward. Why? Because deep inside, you knew you were capable. That knowing has never left you. It's just been covered by fear, by doubt, by voices that made you forget your true worth. But now, it's time to remember. You don't need to become someone else to feel worthy. You just need to become fully yourself, more clear, more grounded, more whole. And here's the miracle. When you begin to believe in your own capacity, you don't just change your life. You light the way for others to believe in themselves too. Because inner strength is contagious. When one person rises, it becomes a mirror for others still lost in the dark. So if today you're unsure about a new step, if you're afraid to begin again, if you feel small in this vast world, pause, place your hand over your heart, and gently say, "I am capable." Then take one small step and another, and just like that, you'll go farther than you ever imagined. One day you'll look back and smile. Turns out, I always had it in me. I just didn't believe it enough. 7. I forgive and let go. There are things you've already forgotten. And then there are things you think you've forgotten until someone touches that tender spot and suddenly it stings like a wound that never fully healed. A comment from years ago, an old betrayal, a silence that spoke too loudly, an ending that came without apology. You didn't mean to carry it. Sometimes you held on to it not because you wanted to, but because you didn't know how to let it go. But do you know what hurts more than what happened? It's continuing to carry it. Forgiveness doesn't mean you agree with what happened, and it doesn't mean you've forgotten. Forgiveness simply means you're tired of carrying the weight. You're ready to be lighter. The Buddha once said holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. When we don't forgive, we think we're punishing the person who hurt us, but really, we're locking ourselves in the prison of unresolved emotions. We carry bitterness in our voice. We wear anger in our eyes. We replay the story every time something reminds us of it. Slowly, we begin to live inside a world built entirely out of the past. Letting go is not weakness, it's strength. It means you're strong enough not to let your wound define you. It means you're clear enough not to let someone else's mistake shape your worth. It means you're wise enough to understand, I cannot rewrite the past, but I can live differently starting now. I remember a story from a Dharma talk. Someone asked the Buddha Lord, "What should I do if someone has deeply hurt me?" The Buddha paused and said, "See the pain like a storm. Don't walk into it. Don't fight it. Just stand still, breathe, and watch. Every storm passes." That's what forgiveness is. It doesn't have to be forced. You don't need to rush to be a better person. You only need to sit with your wound, with compassion. And don't forget, forgiveness is not just for them. It's for you. For the part of you that was once naive. For the part that made mistakes. For the decisions you wish you could take back. For the helplessness you felt. For the version of you that wasn't perfect. Because sometimes the deepest suffering doesn't come from what someone did to you. It comes from not being able to forgive yourself. There's a Zen saying, letting go is liberation. Letting go doesn't mean throwing things away. It means putting down what no longer serves you. Picture this. You're walking a long road carrying a heavy bag of rocks. At first, you think it's necessary. You get used to the weight. But after a while, your shoulders ache, your breath shortens, your knees weaken, and someone says, "You can put that down now." No one's asking you to carry it forever. You pause. "But I'm used to carrying it." And they smile. "Exactly. That's why. You forgot you're allowed to be free." So, when you say "I forgive" and let go, you're not doing anyone a favor. You're giving yourself permission to be free. You're choosing not to let the past drag you. You're choosing not to let someone else control your emotions from afar. You're choosing to move forward lighter, clearer, and with a heart more open than ever before. Letting go is not the end. It's the beginning of a new chapter. One where your story is no longer tied to old pain and forgiveness. It doesn't make you weak. It helps you heal. So if there's something you've been carrying, a painful memory, an unforgiven mistake, a silent bitterness, just pause. Sit quietly. Close your eyes. Place your hand over your heart and whisper to yourself, I forgive and let go. Not because you're trying to forget, but because you deserve to heal. 8. I choose compassion over judgment. There are moments when you look at someone and quietly wonder, why do they live like that? Why won't they change? Why would they say something so hurtful? You don't say it out loud, but your mind has already judged them, and often judgment doesn't need words. It can live in a glance, in a fleeting thought, in that subtle feeling that maybe, just maybe, you're a little better than them. We've all been there, and that doesn't make you a bad person. It simply makes you human. The Buddha once said, the greatest enemy of compassion is judgment. Judgment builds invisible walls. It blocks our view of another person's suffering and replaces it with assumptions. And when your heart is full of judgment, there's very little room left to love. But do you know what's even harder than loving someone you judge? Loving yourself when you judge everyone else. Because the way we look at others is often the same way we treat ourselves. If you're harsh toward the world, chances are you're even harsher on yourself. You'll start to feel like you're never enough. You'll carry around an inner critic that whispers things like, why did you do that? You're too weak. You should have known better. People who live in judgment are often exhausted not because the world is cruel, but because their own hearts are suffocating. And that's when compassion isn't just a gift you give to others. It's the breath that saves you. To choose compassion over judgment is to pause when someone's angry and ask, what must they have gone through to become this way? It's seeing someone act awkwardly, and instead of mocking them, you think maybe no one ever taught them how to love the right way. It's watching someone fail. And rather than feeling superior, gently reminding yourself, I've stumbled before. I'm still learning too. In one of his teachings, the Buddha shared a story about a grieving father who had lost his child. The man was consumed with pain, even blaming the Buddha for not saving his son. But instead of calling him ignorant, the Buddha looked at him with deep compassion and said, the seed of suffering is blindness. But the darkest place is where light is needed most. He didn't judge. He saw the pain behind the anger. And from that gaze, healing began. The world has more than enough people who can hurt you. What it needs is more people who can truly see others with eyes of understanding and care. And maybe, just maybe, you've wished someone would see you that way too. No lectures, no fixing, no judgment, just a gentle presence, a heart that stays. If you've ever longed for that, you now have the chance to be that presence for someone else. I'm not saying you need to love everyone, but you can choose not to harm them further. Not with your words, not with your thoughts, not with your heavy stares. Compassion doesn't make you soft. It makes you safe. A place where others feel like they can breathe. When you say, I choose compassion over judgment, you're not just describing an action. You're choosing a direction, a path, a way to nourish your heart. You choose to understand before you conclude, to listen before you react, to see the humanity before you see the mistake. And the truth is, compassion doesn't just heal others. It heals you. It helps you sleep more peacefully, speak more gently, see the world with softer eyes, and live with fewer walls around your heart. Try living just one day without judgment. When someone does something you don't like, breathe. When you see a mistake, pause and observe. When you hear something uncomfortable, resist the urge to react. Just that small shift, and you'll discover a quieter, kinder person inside you. Someone who knows how to care even after being hurt. Someone who chooses to understand even when they've been misunderstood. And if today you chose, I choose compassion over judgment, then let that be the quiet gift you give the world. No one may notice, no one may applaud, but you will know, and your heart will feel it. 9. I am aware of the present moment. There's something that sounds simple, but very few people actually do it. To truly be here present with this moment, not caught in the past, not rushing toward the future, not buried in your phone screen, not lost in the noise outside or in the whirlwind of thoughts inside your head, but really here with yourself, with your breath, with the space you're in, with the person you're sitting across from. We live for decades, but forget to live in thousands of moments. You've probably sat next to someone you love while your mind was busy worrying about an unread email. You've tasted a beautiful meal, but your heart was still wrapped in the sadness of yesterday. You've walked beneath a canopy of trees, but saw none of it because your mind was tangled in an argument you had last week. And then you wonder, why do I always feel like something's missing? Why can't I ever feel fully joyful? The truth is, you're not really living in your life. You're somewhere else. The Buddha said, the past is already gone. The future has not yet arrived. The present moment is the only place where life truly happens. And if you lose this moment, you lose everything. You can't relive yesterday. You can't jump into tomorrow, but you can return to life right here, right now. If you're willing to pause, breathe, and simply arrive. Your breath is a doorway, not flashy, not complicated, just quietly faithful, always there. The moment you gently place your attention on your in-breath and your out-breath, your mind begins to come home, and life becomes clear again. That's why, in meditation, the Buddha taught breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. That's it. No pressure, no goal to achieve, just an awareness. I am alive. And when you say, I am aware of the present moment, you're doing something that most people in this world rarely do. You stop. You stop running after time, and you become the master of the moment you're living in. Have you noticed? People often wait for something special to feel worthy of their attention. But the truth is, nothing is ever small if you are fully present with it. A glass of water, when you drink it mindfully, can make you feel grateful to the point of tears. A single bird song, if you are still enough, can bring a calm that no music can replace. A glance from a loved one, if you really see it, can begin to heal years of silent distance. Being present is not a performance. It's a return to what is real. It's living without rushing, living without forgetting where you are or who you're with, living like cool water flowing through your hands. You can't hold it forever, but if you're paying attention, you'll feel its tenderness. A Zen master once said, each mindful step you take can bring you back home. That home isn't a place. It's a state of mind, calm, clear, and fully alive. It's where you stop chasing, stop blaming, and simply witness life as it is. Being present doesn't mean ignoring the past or dismissing the future. It means standing strong in this moment so you can understand the past clearly and build the future on solid ground. And you'll begin to realize, when you're truly present, you don't need to do much to feel joy, because joy arises naturally from mindfulness, not from doing, not from achieving, but from fully living what's already here. So tomorrow morning, if you can stand still for just 1 minute, place your hand on your heart and say, I am aware of the present moment. Then, no matter what the day brings, you'll carry a still point inside you. A place no one can disturb. A place you can return to any time with just one conscious breath. This present moment is a gift. You don't need to earn it. You just need to show up for it. And maybe, just maybe, everything you've been looking for, peace, clarity, healing, was never outside of you. It's always been quietly waiting inside for you to come home. So if something in today's reflection touched your heart, keep it close. Carry it with you into tomorrow. Don't forget to subscribe to the Buddhism Seeds channel to continue walking this journey of awakening together. If you found this video helpful, please hit like, share it with someone who might need it today, and leave a few thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear what you're reflecting on. Wishing you a peaceful, gentle, and meaningful day ahead.